Our third session is Library Alerts Using Constant Contact. Our presenter is Virginia Trow from SUNY Delhi. She is currently an associate professor and the director of library services at SUNY Delhi. She's a Silicon Valley veteran who spent more than 20 years in the IT industry. Her library experience encompasses academic, special, and public library administration and consulting. She has a BA and an MA in Information Science from the University of Chicago and an MBA in Management from Santa Clara University. She also serves as an occasional adjunct professor in marketing. So if we can switch over to Virginia's screen, that would be great.
Okay, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good morning, everybody. My name is Virginia Trow, and this presentation is called Library Alerts with Constant Contact. Today, I want to talk about a marketing tactical program that we're currently piloting with a few segments of our faculty. I'm going to start by telling you what motivated me to undertake this experiment a few months ago and what I was hoping to accomplish with it. Then I'll briefly revisit the concept of email marketing. I'll talk a little bit about what I did and how, including a little bit about the tool I used and the design. This is very much a work in progress, but I'll tell you what's happened so far and what I'm seeing. And finally, I'll conclude with some speculation about where we need to go and where we can go with this pilot next. I just want to say up front that I'm not going to focus on the features of Constant Contact as a tool versus MailChimp or some other tool, because these programs are so easy to get into and master. You don't need me to figure them out or to help you decide which one works best for you. They both have their pluses and their minuses, and I'm basically agnostic. What I think is most important and what I want to emphasize in this presentation is understanding the rationale, the perspective that I have of our faculty customers and why I think we needed to use this kind of communication channel. I'm looking forward to your comments and questions. And as we go along, please feel free to pose them in the chat box, and I'll try to answer as many as possible in the time remaining at the end. So, why did I get started with this pilot? You might think, oh, this is just another promotional gimmick to get the word out about the library, just another nice to have that I don't have time for in my daily, demanding, maxed out, budget-cutting library regimen. Well, that was not the case here. What triggered this was a perceived need based on some disturbing patron use data that I uncovered. So one day, I was pursuing my favorite pastime, analyzing database usage in the veterinary sciences area, which is one of our most important, most popular programs. And this is the graph that materialized before my eyes in Excel. Now, this is the kind of trend line I would fully expect to see in circulation stats, but not in e-resource stats. The usage had fallen off close to about 40% just in the last 2 years. Needless to say, this was troubling. I was concerned enough to take this data to the next VetSci faculty department meeting and ask the group what they thought was going on and what we could do to improve usage. And as I sat there and I looked around at this large group of people around the table, I realized how diverse the group was in many respects. There were part-time TAs, instructional assistants, adjuncts, and full professors. This was the makeup of the department. I also know that many have crushing teaching loads. Many are teaching on multiple campuses, and I got the feeling that many simply don't have the time or the energy beyond their teaching commitments to even explore the library or stay on top of resources in their field. It seemed to me that this group was kind of a microcosm, maybe characteristic of the larger faculty population overall. Overworked, overloaded, overscheduled, time-deprived, and hard to reach as a group. I did suggest to them that the library could look for ways to communicate better with them and keep them informed about new acquisitions, database trials, and so on. And they liked that idea. But on balance, I didn't think these faculty were going to make a big effort to seek out new information from the library. This may sound cynical, but I don't think the library is a regular, important destination for many of them. We don't have a lot of research scholars on our campus, and many faculty are working online and at home, probably going straight to Google Scholar instead of to Academic Premier. So I thought, maybe I should set up a listserv that they could join, and then I could start posting messages regularly to that. But I wasn't really interested in starting an interactive dialogue or doing a threaded discussion. At another institution, I had seen the instructional design team go the listserv route, and it took them a long time to get faculty signed up and to build a list, which they then used mostly for announcements, not discussions. I really just wanted to reach everyone in a more structured kind of communication that would be somewhat informative and visually interesting. I really had a quick and dirty news update concept in my head. I mean, I had done newsletters before, designed a web page or a blog and sent out a link to that. But in my opinion, that was still more clicks than I wanted. I wanted something outbound and direct. I wanted to broadcast it. And for some reason, I conflated the idea of a kind of library news service with the news alert concept, but not a news alert that would be on a daily basis, maybe something just once or twice a semester. So, a combination of wanting to push out something informative to a targeted group of faculty using the campus network as my distribution channel, and the ability to send email that could be opened on multiple devices, laptops, smartphones, and tablets, led me to the email marketing tools. So I thought, let me see, how many marketing objectives can I throw into this? Let's see, I want them to get interested, I want to get them to open it, I want to tweak their interest with some punchy text, make it colorful, add some relevant pictures, tell them about new things, remind them about our regular services, maybe start building some brand identity, which essentially really doesn't exist at this time because we just have, the name of our library. And then, hey, yippee, I'd be done. I can check all the marketing boxes. But I don't know, there's this bad feeling. At this point, I have to get around to the dark side, that nasty, sleazy connotation that email marketing has. All those unwanted solicitations, exhortations to buy vitamins, send money to Nigeria, have dinner with your favorite political candidate. The bad reputation that lingers on from the earliest days before the advent of spam filters and spam folders. Email still has a bad reputation and also has been eclipsed, I think, in our minds by social media tools that are so popular with our students. I just wanted to leverage the email distribution channel to broadcast to an internal audience. Faculty, after all, are on their email every day and on their computers and on their phone. Let me say that the current research also shows that the vast majority of people actually want to receive email from organizations or businesses they already have relationships with. And the fact is that now these email engines and the products are really sophisticated, feature-rich, easy to use, cheap, and with lots of good tracking and reporting. It's almost a no-brainer to exploit them. So, the only real hurdle was to get permission or approval. So I started seeding the idea of an e-newsletter with our administration first, and then with the dean of the division. I emphasized that we were just looking to experiment, to try piloting some kind of new communication vehicle. Now, I'm a huge advocate of piloting when you want to try something new, because if you do a pilot, you can set expectations that you're guaranteed you'll meet, and you can reduce your risk of looking bad if your experiment doesn't succeed 100%. So I discussed the concept in conversations with more faculty. I asked for advice about opt-in or opt-out, and I was surprised to hear one program director advise me against allowing people any choice to opt in or opt out. Just send it. Assume they want it, was the response. And hey, that was good enough of a green light for me. So I started putting together my list of veterinary science faculty. But then I got sort of into this list creation, and I began adding and uploading more lists into the system. Liberal arts, business and hospitality, and other groups, lifted right from the campus directory. I started playing around with the tools. I set up some free accounts. I tried out some templates and created some fake content. Like a news producer, I solicited content from our librarians, and I wrote some very light, friendly copy, took pictures, then sent several test emails around to the staff to see what people thought and whether the newsletter looked right on tablets and smartphones. I have to say, the writing style was deliberately light, maybe lightweight even. And when I got to a final draft, I sent it to the dean of the division to review and get input. And he loved it. I also then alerted him just before I was getting ready to send it out to his faculty. And then after I sent it, I got the tracking and the reporting. So I experimented with the two most popular products. These two are both good. I do get the impression, and it might be wrong or I might be mistaken, but I think that you can do more sophisticated things with MailChimp. Constant Contact also actually markets itself specifically as a small business and nonprofit tool. And they have a lot of help and training and a very simple to use interface. It seems a little clunky in some respects, and the templates definitely have limitations. But you can put something together quickly, manage your mail lists, and do reporting that is good enough to cover basic needs. So I experimented with both of them. I really was looking for a very easy-to-use tool that every librarian on our staff, which has varying degrees of digital or graphical or content development skills, or more importantly, time that they can devote to this. There are varying degrees of all those things, and so it had to be something that could be put together quickly and didn't require a lot of design effort. So let me just say a few things about design. I chose the simplest, blockiest canned template that Constant Contact has. And then I decided on a very basic information architecture and layout with just 3 sections: an area for programs, a section for new items in the collection or new database trials, and then a 3rd section for basic service reminders and any asks that the library might have. My idea was that you should be able to ingest the whole thing in under a minute. And then you could follow links that would go to additional info if you wanted it. Now, I had 7 to 10 links in the first newsletter, and I think that was too many. I did give it a name, I branded school colors, etc., and I was able to put it together fairly quickly. So here are some pieces of the newsletter. Now, I can safely say that there's no danger of this thing winning any design awards. It's really, really basic. It's a little flat, and the template is somewhat limiting. But this is still more engaging than most other internal email that people are getting over the campus network. Now, it's not pretty, but it's good enough and simple enough for other staffers to use and customize should they want to do their own newsletters. So, what were the results? Well, actually, we sent 2 newsletters. One was customized for veterinary science, and then we had a more broad-based one. And in terms of the results, well, there was no major outcry. There were no arrests made by the IT department police. The sky did not fall. 70 to 80% opened their emails, although I have to say a dismal percentage clicked on the links. I also think, although it's not shown here, I think we were also able to see what percentage opened the email on their phone or on their PC. I have to say I was disappointed by the low click rate, and I'm not sure why. I think, as I said, perhaps we had too many links. I think we're going to need to experiment more with that. So now, a few months later, we're getting ready to do our second round of newsletters, starting with our next VetSci edition. So, what else do we need to do? Well, right now, I think we need to establish some useful goals. Will it be will my goal be 100% opens? Or will it be distributing the newsletter more frequently? Should I tie the newsletter to a number of new faculty that initiate communications with us as a result? Although I'm not sure that that would be easy to do. I also need to think about what useful metrics might be. Is it whatever I get from Constant Contact, or something else, or something more? We haven't really solicited or collected feedback yet either. I think we'll do that after we have at least one more round of newsletters out. How we collect that feedback will be another issue. But once we have enough of it, then we can look at refining our objectives if that's necessary. I should also, I also think, I'm currently writing these newsletters with the assistance of our librarians, and I'm not sure whether I should continue doing that. I think we need to determine the interest on both the producer side and the patron side. It can be a great relationship building tool for small groups or large ones. So that's what we need to do. But what else could we do? Well, we could use the tool to produce announcements or other emails, refine some of the emails that we currently are doing, or we could create newsletters for other types or segments, for example, donors or alumni. Of course, if we decided to do that, we would most definitely work with our marketing and our development group. We'll also look at doing more targeted academic divisions, perhaps, though, I don't want to get carried away with this. I don't want to flood the channel with too many email newsletters and too many versions. And of course, we could develop some branding, which we sort of need to do anyway. But, question, where's the plan? In closing, let me advise you that what I did is not the optimal way to approach your marketing and promotion. Good things really can emerge from a sense of urgency, but if I hadn't had a sense of urgency, I would have done a little more overall planning. Every library and every organization should have a good integrated marketing plan, meaning one where you're coordinating multiple marketing channels with consistent messages and content so that you get the maximum coverage you need. Because without that, you're just scattering your messages ad hoc and diminishing overall effectiveness and communication value. If you create a good overall marketing plan for the year or even for the semester with all your proposed target segment groups and the tactics and programs that you want to employ for each one, then you can integrate your direct marketing or email vehicles and campaigns into your overall online marketing strategy. I hope, that our library can get to that point. We have made a basic start with the creation of a simple marketing calendar in Google that helps us organize our events and displays them month by month. That's not a plan or a strategy, but it provides some structure and organization and some ability to look ahead and coordinate efforts. Now, I don't see any reason not to use email tools for internal marketing communications. And I think if we continue to send these out on a regular basis, we will grow a solid base of awareness and familiarity with more faculty than we can hope to reach in any other way. So I say, get permission and give it a shot in your library, and you might even enjoy the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Virginia. We have some comments and things coming in. Actually, probably the most important question, and I had this question too, this came from Alona, is did usage of the databases increase as a result? Have you been able to see any increased usage in any of the things you've promoted so far this way?
Well, actually, in the VetSci newsletter, we didn't promote databases. We actually talked about So we talked about a current VetSci program, or the collection room that we have. We also talked about some print resources that we have printed online that we wanted faculty to be aware of. What else did we do? I forget, but we actually haven't gone back with a follow-up. You know, as I said, we did our first newsletter, let's see, I think right before Thanksgiving, and you know, so with the holidays and all of that. So that's something that we need to do. But I think after we send out the next one, I think we're going to see what net value we get from it.
All right. Great. So there are a couple of more questions. One from Christy McPherson. Does Constant Contact cost anything to use? She came in a little late and she wasn't sure if you had mentioned if there was a
Okay, right.
cost
So
associated.
I, wasn't going to talk a lot about the cost. I know that MailChimp, they have this, promotional gimmick free forever, right? So you can sign up for free and you can do basic stuff, I think, for free. Constant Contact, we got a, it may also be free to set up an account, but I think we decided to bump up to one of the higher levels. So we basically pay $20 a month, and that gets us, some of the features and functionality. So, $250 a year is not a big strain on the budget, which is very small in our case, but, it's doable. But, I know a lot of other libraries are using MailChimp, and, maybe some of you out there are. So, but they're pretty, yeah, the entry price is extremely low for all these programs.
Great. And we have a couple comments. Ooh, we have a lot of comments floating in. Um, One from Carrie Martin about excellent points about faculty. You said earlier about that faculty don't necessarily have a lot of time to invest in finding out about what's new in the library. And we also don't have a ton of time as librarians necessarily to do
Hmm.
these things. So anything that can sort of make that process smoother and easier for everyone involved is
Well,
great.
right. Yeah, yeah. And also, of course, it's great if you have an outreach librarian who has the time, or a marketing person, or somebody, a student that you can recruit, I mean, because the tools are so easy, there's a number of ways to accomplish it. But, again, that's another reason to use these tools, because it used to be kind of hard to do this, and now it's a snap.
Comment from Sarah. We switched from newsletters to a library blog, and our readership actually grew immensely. So they went the
Hmm.
opposite direction from a
Hmm.
from a newsletter to a blog and saw their
Hmm.
readership
Well,
increase,
yeah. Well,
which
you
is
have to remember,
interesting.
right, it's not the only way, right? We have a blog also. You have to get to it by going to our webpage, I believe. And I think some of our librarians must send out links to that. As I said, there's different ways of doing this, and and you shouldn't rely on one or a few tools. I think you should use them all. And I think blogs are really good for quick updates, right? And but you can do a lot of you can use a newsletter to do updates, but more frequently. And I was trying to think, is it more? I don't think the newsletter is very personalized, except in the fact that it goes direct into your mailbox. Maybe the blog has a more informal feel to it as well. So, it's pick your weapon of choice.
Great. There's a comment from Lisa over at NCC who said, sounds like a wonderful replacement for the outdated printed newsletter. Seems like a great way to target the interests of an individual department and a great outreach tool.
Yes, I think that's true. What I see a lot of are people putting up PDFs of either a printed newsletter, which, maybe going out to alumni as well as staff, and, I mean, the old-fashioned newsletter, right? And so just create a PDF and put that up. But it's just like so yesterday, right? I don't know. You have the ability to do all these cute graphics and, take advantage of it. Why not? I mean, if people are getting this stuff in their mailbox from all their favorite companies. Why can't we do it too?
There's a point actually from Carrie Fishner, who is in your library, probably not that far physically from you right now. She just wanted to point out to everyone that Constant Contact and MailChimp both have free versions up to a certain amount of email addresses. So you can have a free account, but there's limits to
Right.
how many people you can send out to.
Yeah, I believe Carrie actually was a user of MailChimp in a previous life. I like it too. It's got a prettier interface in some ways, but I don't know. I just, it was a toss-up in some ways, but I thought constant contact was so simple that no one could mess up, even me.
Yeah. There's a comment slash question from Sue Sylvan who says, I'm thinking, why not send right directly to the vet students? And then you mentioned it, and would it be impractical to target students by major if you were sending it by email?
Well, it's a question of refining your lists. I'll tell you, once you get into this list thing, you can really go wild with it. Yeah, you could. Students are an audience, but remember, my concern was the faculty. The faculty aren't using these resources. They weren't going to incorporate them into assignments, and there's so many different kinds of faculty. You know, so I needed something an easy way to try and reach everybody with some base level of messaging. So that's, but students, yeah, I mean, as much energy as you have and time, of course, to do this. I think, it'd be good to get together with faculty. In our case, the we have a really good relationship with the vet sci, and we're doing some very progressive things with them, with some of the faculty, but, as a group, it's harder. But I would find a group that, you want to target and talk to them and see whether they have classes or certain tracks of students that would benefit from it. And, I mean, there's lots of possibilities here.
Great. We have a question from Nancy Churchill. It says, have you considered like a 2 to 3 question feedback link within the newsletter? Something like, you've opened this email, would you please, let us know what you think?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe they wouldn't read it, or have you tried, what
Well,
would your
yeah,
opinion of that be?
yeah. I mean, as I mentioned, we've got this link problem, right? And I don't know whether people were shocked to get this email and didn't know that there were links, or whether they just didn't have the time, or like, I don't really care. I don't want to go any deeper. I mean, how deeply do people read their emails these days as well? I mean, that's another concern. I mean, I tried to make it as content light as possible, but maybe it wasn't light enough. Now, as for feedback, we definitely got to get some. But I don't know. When I get feedback, I probably I could put a link in the letter. I could do something a little bit different. I could assemble some faculty or do a quick focus group, or I could send a separate email. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I just want to make sure that I don't just rely on some anecdotal comments that, squeaky wheels may want to make, or, I need to do something systematic and possibly a little bit diverse, not just rely on one kind of feedback. Because so often we just ask, oh, was it valuable to you? Did you get something out of it? Would you recommend it to someone else? What am I going to do with that kind of information? I can't, there's not much I can do that I've considered useful. So I got to think that through, but we definitely need to get it, definitely. And that's one possible way of doing it, putting a link, yeah.
Yeah. And Alona had another question just quickly. Does your library also have a Facebook account that they post out
Yes,
to?
we do. Oh, yes, Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm.
And have you seen, like, even anecdotally, like, different reactions to different channels or different ways of promoting?
Actually, Carrie could probably provide more information on how we're doing with Facebook and Twitter. Um, as I said, we're not as coordinated with our overall marketing. I think Carrie is actually spending a lot of time just doing marketing and outreach, and I'm strategizing. So we need to invest more energy in looking across all of the things that we're doing.
And Carrie chimed in and said, yes, there are different reactions to the different channels.
There you go.
So, team effort. This is nice. Does anyone else have any questions for Virginia about email marketing or anything like that? Give people typing a minute or so to type. Yeah, like, I know for me, one of the things, like, I'm not trained in marketing at all, but it's something that every librarian has to do at some point somehow, and trying to think of how to do that in the most effective and engaging way is a challenge sometimes,
Oh,
but
yeah.
really important. Okay, if no one has any other questions, I think we will get ready to move on. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.